The Psychopath's Mind, a definitive guide to identifying and defending against toxic personalities. In a world where charm can conceal malevolence and charisma can mask manipulation, understanding the intricacies of the psychopathic mind becomes imperative. The Psychopath's Mind, understanding and avoiding them, delves deep into the enigmatic realm of psychopathy, offering insights, strategies, and cautionary tales to navigate this treacherous terrain. Psychopathy, characterized by a lack of empathy, superficial charm, and manipulative tendencies, has long captivated the fascination of psychologists, criminologists, and the general public alike. However, amidst the intrigue lies a pressing need for comprehension and defense against the detrimental effects of psychopathic behavior. This book embarks on a comprehensive exploration of psychopathy, beginning with its origins and developmental pathways. From the early signs of psychopathic traits to the neurobiological underpinnings of this disorder, readers will gain a nuanced understanding of what drives the psychopathic mind. Drawing from real-life examples and cutting-edge research, each chapter elucidates different facets of psychopathy, from its impact on personal relationships to its ramifications in broader societal contexts. Whether it's deciphering the manipulation tactics employed by psychopaths or navigating the legal and ethical considerations surrounding their actions, this book equips readers with the knowledge needed to safeguard themselves and others from harm. Moreover, the psychopath's mind extends beyond mere recognition and avoidance, delving into strategies for resilience and empowerment. By examining case studies of notorious psychopaths and offering practical advice for building psychological fortitude, this book empowers readers to reclaim control over their lives in the face of psychopathic influence. As you embark on this journey through the labyrinthine corridors of the psychopathic mind, remember that knowledge is your greatest ally. By arming yourself with insights gleaned from this book, you can navigate the complexities of human interaction with newfound clarity and confidence. Chapter 1. Introduction to Psychopathy. In the annals of psychology, few subjects elicit as much fascination and dread as psychopathy, defined by a potent combination of charisma, callousness, and cunning. Psychopaths have long captured the imagination of scholars and the public alike. Yet, beneath the veneer of charm lies a dark and enigmatic world that defies conventional understanding. Psychopathy, as a concept, traces its origins to the early 20th century when pioneering psychologists began to explore the intricacies of personality and behavior. Initially conceptualized as a subset of antisocial personality disorder, psychopathy emerged as a distinct construct characterized by a distinct set of traits and behaviors. Central to the understanding of psychopathy is the triad of traits known as the dark triad: Machiavellianism, narcissism, and psychopathy itself. While each trait possesses its own unique features, it is the interplay between them that gives rise to the quintessential psychopathic profile, a charming yet manipulative individual devoid of empathy or remorse. But what sets psychopaths apart from the general population? At the core of psychopathy lies a profound deficit in emotional processing, particularly concerning the experiences of others. While most individuals possess an innate capacity for empathy, a fundamental aspect of social cognition, psychopaths exhibit a marked impairment in this domain. Furthermore, psychopathy is often accompanied by a proclivity for risk-taking and sensation-seeking behavior, as well as a penchant for deceit and manipulation. These traits, combined with a superficial charm and glibness, enable psychopaths to navigate social situations with ease, masking their true intentions beneath a veneer of charisma. However, it is essential to recognize that not all psychopaths fit the stereotypical image of the cold-blooded killer or ruthless corporate executive. In fact, many psychopaths lead seemingly ordinary lives, blending seamlessly into society while perpetrating harm behind closed doors. As we delve deeper into the labyrinthine corridors of the psychopathic mind, it becomes clear that the true danger lies not in the overt acts of violence or aggression, but in the subtle manipulation and exploitation that characterize psychopathic behavior. From the calculated charm of the con artist to the calculated cruelty of the domestic abuser, psychopaths wield their influence with chilling efficiency, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. Chapter 2. The Development of Psychopathic Traits. Understanding the development of psychopathic traits is crucial for unraveling the mysteries of this complex disorder. While the origins of psychopathy remain a subject of debate among researchers, evidence suggests that a combination of genetic predispositions, early environmental influences, and neurobiological factors contribute to its manifestation. Early childhood experiences play a pivotal role in shaping the trajectory of psychopathic development. Research indicates that individuals who later exhibit psychopathic traits often come from environments characterized by neglect, abuse, or inconsistent parenting. These adverse experiences can disrupt the normal development of empathy, impulse control, and moral reasoning, laying the groundwork for the emergence of psychopathic behavior later in life. Genetic factors also play a significant role in predisposing individuals to psychopathy. Studies have shown that certain genetic variations, particularly those related to neurotransmitter function and neural circuitry, may increase susceptibility to psychopathic traits. However, it's important to note that genetics alone are not deterministic. Rather, they interact with environmental influences to shape an individual's risk for developing psychopathy. Neurobiological research has provided further insights into the underlying mechanisms of psychopathy. Functional imaging studies have revealed differences in brain structure and function between psychopathic individuals and their non-psychopathic counterparts. Areas of the brain involved in empathy, moral decision-making, and emotional processing, such as the amygdala and prefrontal cortex, exhibit aberrant patterns of activity in psychopaths. One prevailing theory posits that dysfunction in the amygdala, a key region involved in emotional processing, underlies the emotional deficits observed in psychopathy. Reduced amygdala activation in response to emotional stimuli may contribute to psychopaths' lack of empathy and remorse, as well as their propensity for sensation-seeking and risk-taking behavior. In addition to structural differences, psychopaths may also exhibit alterations in neurotransmitter systems implicated in reward processing and impulse control. Dysregulation of dopamine, serotonin, and other neurotransmitters may contribute to the reward-seeking behavior and disinhibition characteristic of psychopathy. However, it's essential to recognize that not all individuals exposed to adverse environments or possessing genetic risk factors for psychopathy will go on to develop the disorder. Protective factors, such as supportive relationships, access to mental health resources, and positive coping skills, can mitigate the impact of risk factors and promote resilience in at-risk individuals. By understanding the complex interplay of genetic, environmental, and neurobiological factors underlying the development of psychopathy, researchers can gain insights into potential avenues for prevention and intervention. Early identification and targeted interventions aimed at addressing the underlying mechanisms of psychopathy may offer hope for breaking the cycle of dysfunction and promoting healthier outcomes for affected individuals. Chapter 3. Recognizing Psychopathic Behavior. Recognizing psychopathic behavior is essential for protecting oneself and others from potential harm. Psychopaths often possess a charming and charismatic facade that can mask their true intentions, making them adept at manipulating and exploiting those around them. However, there are subtle signs and patterns of behavior that may indicate the presence of psychopathy. One hallmark trait of psychopathy is a superficial charm and glibness. Psychopaths are often skilled at presenting themselves in a favorable light, using charisma and charm to ingratiate themselves with others. They may be persuasive communicators, able to captivate and manipulate their audience with ease. However, beneath the surface charm lies a lack of genuine empathy or concern for others. Another key characteristic of psychopathy is a lack of remorse or guilt. Psychopaths may engage in harmful or unethical behavior without experiencing the moral qualms that typically accompany such actions. They may rationalize their actions or blame others for their misdeeds, demonstrating a callous disregard for the consequences of their behavior on others. Psychopaths often exhibit a parasitic lifestyle, exploiting others for personal gain without regard for the impact on their victims. They may engage in financial fraud, manipulation, or exploitation to satisfy their own desires, viewing others as mere means to an end rather than as individuals deserving of respect and consideration. Psychopaths also display a marked propensity for impulsivity and irresponsibility. They may engage in reckless or risky behavior without considering the potential consequences, driven by a desire for excitement or stimulation. This impulsivity can manifest in various domains of life, from financial decisions to interpersonal relationships, often leading to chaos and instability. Psychopaths frequently exhibit a grandiose sense of self-worth and entitlement. They may believe themselves to be inherently superior to others, deserving of special treatment or privileges. This inflated self-image can lead to arrogance, condescension, and a disregard for societal norms or rules. Despite these common traits, it's important to recognize that not all individuals who exhibit charm, impulsivity, or grandiosity are psychopaths. Psychopathy is a complex and multifaceted disorder that requires a comprehensive assessment by qualified professionals. However, being aware of the warning signs and red flags associated with psychopathic behavior can help individuals protect themselves and others from potential harm. Chapter 4. Understanding the Psychopath's Mindset. Understanding the mindset of a psychopath is essential for comprehending their behavior and motives. While psychopathy is often portrayed as a mysterious and incomprehensible phenomenon, research has shed light on the cognitive and emotional processes that underlie psychopathic behavior. At the core of the psychopathic mindset lies a profound deficit in empathy. Unlike neurotypical individuals who possess the ability to recognize and resonate with the emotions of others, psychopaths lack this fundamental capacity for emotional empathy. As a result, they are unable to experience genuine compassion or concern for the well-being of others. Instead, psychopaths may engage in a form of cognitive empathy, wherein they are able to understand and manipulate the emotions of others for their own benefit. They may mimic expressions of empathy or concern as a means of gaining trust or exerting control over their victims. However, this empathy deficit is not merely a lack of skill or effort. It reflects a fundamental difference in the way psychopaths process and respond to emotional stimuli. Psychopaths often exhibit a profound sense of detachment from their own emotions. While they may experience emotions such as anger, frustration, or boredom, these feelings are shallow and fleeting, lacking the depth and intensity characteristic of genuine emotional experiences. Psychopaths may view emotions as tools to be exploited rather than as authentic expressions of internal states. This emotional detachment extends to their relationships with others, which are often characterized by superficiality and manipulation. Psychopaths may form shallow and transient bonds with others, using charm and charisma to establish rapport before discarding them once they have served their purpose. They may view relationships as opportunities for gratification or exploitation rather than as genuine connections based on mutual respect and empathy. Psychopaths often exhibit a sense of entitlement and narcissism that fuels their manipulative behavior. They may believe themselves to be inherently superior to others, deserving of special treatment or privileges. This grandiose self-image may lead them to exploit and manipulate those around them without regard for the consequences of their actions. Despite their apparent confidence and bravado, psychopaths may also experience a profound sense of boredom and restlessness. They may engage in risky or antisocial behavior as a means of seeking stimulation or excitement, driven by a desire for novelty and thrill-seeking. This propensity for boredom and impulsivity can contribute to their involvement in criminal or unethical activities. In addition to these core features, psychopaths may also exhibit a lack of insight into their own behavior and its impact on others. They may rationalize their actions or blame external factors for their misdeeds, denying responsibility for the harm they cause. This lack of introspection and accountability further complicates efforts to understand and address psychopathic behavior. By delving into the mindset of a psychopath, we can gain insights into the underlying motivations and mechanisms driving their behavior. While psychopathy remains a complex and enigmatic phenomenon, ongoing research offers hope for better understanding and ultimately mitigating its impact on individuals and society as a whole. Chapter 5. Psychopathy and Neurobiology. The study of psychopathy has increasingly turned to the realm of neuroscience, seeking to uncover the biological underpinnings of this complex disorder. Through advanced imaging techniques and neurobiological research, scientists have made significant strides in understanding how differences in brain structure and function contribute to the cognitive and emotional deficits observed in psychopathic individuals. One of the key regions implicated in psychopathy is the amygdala, a small almond-shaped structure located deep within the brain. The amygdala plays a central role in processing emotions, particularly those related to fear and threat detection. Research has consistently shown that psychopathic individuals exhibit reduced activity and structural abnormalities in the amygdala, suggesting a deficit in emotional processing and responsiveness. This dysfunction in the amygdala may underlie the emotional deficits observed in psychopathy, including a lack of empathy, guilt, and remorse. Without the ability to recognize and resonate with the emotions of others, psychopaths may engage in callous and manipulative behavior without experiencing the moral qualms that typically accompany such actions. Alterations in the prefrontal cortex, a region of the brain involved in higher-order cognitive functions such as decision-making, impulse control, and moral reasoning, have also been implicated in psychopathy. Studies have shown that psychopathic individuals exhibit structural and functional abnormalities in the prefrontal cortex, including reduced gray matter volume and deficits in executive function. This dysfunction in the prefrontal cortex may contribute to the impulsive and reckless behavior characteristic of psychopathy, as well as the inability to consider the long-term consequences of one's actions. Psychopaths may act on immediate desires and impulses without regard for the potential harm to themselves or others, driven by a need for stimulation and gratification. Alterations in neurotransmitter systems, particularly those involving dopamine and serotonin, have been implicated in psychopathy. Dopamine, often referred to as the reward neurotransmitter, plays a key role in motivation, reinforcement learning, and the processing of rewarding stimuli. Dysregulation of the dopamine system may contribute to the sensation-seeking behavior and risk-taking tendencies observed in psychopathic individuals. Similarly, serotonin, often referred to as the mood neurotransmitter, is involved in regulating mood, impulse control, and aggression. Dysregulation of the serotonin system may contribute to the impulsivity and aggression characteristic of psychopathy, as well as deficits in emotional regulation and empathy. While these neurobiological findings offer valuable insights into the mechanisms underlying psychopathy, it's important to recognize that psychopathy is a complex and multifaceted disorder that likely involves interactions between multiple brain regions and neurotransmitter systems. Moreover, neurobiological factors alone are unlikely to fully account for the development of psychopathy, which is also influenced by genetic, environmental, and social factors. Nevertheless, by gaining a better understanding of the neurobiological underpinnings of psychopathy, researchers can develop more targeted interventions and treatment approaches aimed at addressing the underlying mechanisms of the disorder. From pharmacological interventions targeting neurotransmitter systems to neurofeedback techniques aimed at modulating brain activity, ongoing research offers hope for more effective strategies for preventing and treating psychopathy in the future. Chapter 6: The Societal Impact of Psychopathy. The societal impact of psychopathy extends far beyond the individual level, affecting communities, institutions, and the broader social fabric. From the devastating consequences of psychopathic violence to the insidious influence of corporate psychopathy, understanding the societal ramifications of this disorder is essential for implementing effective prevention and intervention strategies. At the most extreme end of the spectrum, psychopathy is associated with a disproportionate amount of violent and criminal behavior. Research has consistently shown that individuals with psychopathic traits are overrepresented in prison populations and are more likely to engage in serious violent offenses compared to the general population. The impulsive and callous nature of psychopathy, combined with a lack of empathy or remorse, can lead to devastating consequences for victims and their families. Psychopathy is associated with a range of other harmful behaviors, including manipulation, deceit, and exploitation. Psychopaths may engage in financial fraud, corporate misconduct, or interpersonal abuse, leaving a trail of devastation in their wake. The societal costs of psychopathy, both in terms of human suffering and economic burden, are staggering. In addition to the direct impact on victims, psychopathy can also have broader societal implications. For example, psychopathic individuals may exploit and manipulate social institutions for personal gain, undermining trust and integrity in the process. Corporate psychopathy, characterized by unethical and exploitative behavior within organizations, can have far-reaching consequences for employees, shareholders, and the public at large. Psychopathy can erode the social fabric by fostering a culture of distrust, cynicism, and fear. When individuals feel vulnerable to manipulation and exploitation, social cohesion and cooperation suffer, leading to increased social isolation and alienation. In extreme cases, this breakdown in social trust can contribute to social unrest, instability, and conflict. The societal impact of psychopathy extends beyond the realm of criminal justice and corporate governance to areas such as healthcare, education, and public policy. Psychopathic traits, such as impulsivity, sensation-seeking, and risk-taking behavior, can pose significant challenges in these domains, leading to inefficiencies, disruptions, and disparities in service delivery. For example, psychopathic individuals may engage in risky health behaviors, such as substance abuse or unsafe sexual practices, increasing the burden on healthcare systems and exacerbating public health crises. Similarly, psychopathic behavior in educational settings, such as bullying or disruptive conduct, can undermine the learning environment and hinder academic achievement for all students. Psychopathy can pose challenges for policymakers and lawmakers tasked with crafting effective policies and legislation. The impulsive and manipulative nature of psychopathy may lead to exploitation of loopholes or weaknesses in existing laws, necessitating ongoing vigilance and adaptation to address emerging threats. Despite these challenges, there is hope for mitigating the societal impact of psychopathy through a multifaceted approach that combines prevention, intervention, and rehabilitation efforts. By raising awareness and promoting education about psychopathy, communities can empower individuals to recognize and respond to the warning signs of this disorder. Moreover, by implementing evidence-based interventions aimed at addressing the underlying mechanisms of psychopathy, such as cognitive behavioral therapy and social skills training, we can help individuals with psychopathic traits lead healthier and more productive lives. Chapter 7. Psychopathy in Relationships. Navigating relationships with psychopathic individuals can be challenging and fraught with complexity. Whether it's a romantic partnership, a friendship, or a professional collaboration, the presence of psychopathic traits can significantly impact the dynamics and outcomes of interpersonal interactions. Understanding the dynamics of psychopathy in relationships is essential for protecting oneself and others from harm while fostering healthier and more fulfilling connections. Psychopathic individuals may struggle to recognize and respond to the emotional needs of their partners, viewing relationships as transactional or exploitative rather than based on mutual care and affection. This emotional deficit can lead to a sense of emptiness or disconnection in relationships, leaving partners feeling unfulfilled and misunderstood. Psychopathic individuals may engage in manipulative and deceitful behavior to maintain control and power in relationships. They may lie, manipulate, or gaslight their partners to achieve their own ends, whether it's financial gain, emotional validation, or simply a sense of dominance. This pattern of manipulation can erode trust and intimacy, creating a toxic cycle of deception and betrayal. Psychopaths may exhibit a pattern of idealization and devaluation in relationships, alternating between showering their partners with praise and affection and degrading them with criticism and contempt. This behavior, known as love bombing followed by discard, can leave partners feeling confused, insecure, and emotionally battered. The unpredictability and volatility of psychopathic relationships can contribute to feelings of anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem in partners. In addition to the emotional toll, psychopathic relationships can also pose physical risks to partners. Research has shown that individuals with psychopathic traits are more likely to engage in intimate partner violence and domestic abuse compared to the general population. The combination of impulsivity, aggression, and lack of empathy characteristic of psychopathy can result in explosive and potentially dangerous confrontations in relationships. Despite these challenges, it's important to recognize that not all individuals with psychopathic traits are abusive or violent in relationships. While psychopathy is associated with an increased risk of harmful behavior, not all psychopaths engage in interpersonal violence. Nevertheless, the presence of psychopathic traits in a partner should prompt careful consideration and vigilance to ensure one's safety and well-being. The impact of psychopathy in relationships extends beyond romantic partnerships to friendships, family dynamics, and professional collaborations. Psychopathic individuals may exploit and manipulate those around them for personal gain, undermining trust and cooperation in interpersonal interactions. Recognizing the warning signs of psychopathy and setting boundaries can help protect oneself from potential harm while fostering healthier and more authentic connections with others. Chapter 8. Manipulation Tactics of Psychopaths. Psychopaths are masters of manipulation, employing a wide array of tactics to achieve their goals and exert control over others. From subtle forms of psychological manipulation to overt acts of deceit and coercion, understanding the tactics used by psychopaths is essential for recognizing and protecting oneself from their influence. One of the most common manipulation tactics employed by psychopaths is charm and charisma. Psychopaths often possess an uncanny ability to charm and disarm their targets, using flattery, compliments, and engaging conversation to win their trust and admiration. This charm offensive can be disarming, making it difficult for victims to see through the psychopath facade and recognize their true intentions. Once they have gained their target's trust, psychopaths may begin to manipulate and exploit them for personal gain. This may involve gaslighting, a form of psychological manipulation aimed at undermining the victim's perception of reality and questioning their sanity. By distorting the truth, denying past events, or shifting blame onto the victim, psychopath can erode their target's confidence and sense of self-worth, leaving them vulnerable to further manipulation. Psychopaths may also employ guilt-tripping as a manipulation tactic, using emotional appeals to manipulate their targets into complying with their demands or relinquishing their boundaries. By playing the victim or portraying themselves as the aggrieved party, psychopaths can elicit sympathy and guilt in their targets, making it difficult for them to assert themselves or challenge the psychopath's behavior. Psychopaths may use manipulation tactics such as love bombing and devaluation to control their partners in romantic relationships. Love bombing involves showering the target with affection, attention, and gifts in the early stages of the relationship to create a sense of dependency and attachment. Once the target is emotionally invested, the psychopath may then begin to devalue and degrade them, keeping them off balance and insecure. In addition to these psychological manipulation tactics, psychopaths may also engage in more overt forms of deceit and coercion to achieve their goals. This may include lying, cheating, and stealing to manipulate their targets into compliance or to gain access to valuable resources. Psychopaths may also use threats, intimidation, and physical violence to control and intimidate their victims, particularly in cases where their manipulation tactics are unsuccessful. Recognizing and resisting manipulation tactics is essential for protecting oneself from psychopathic influence. By maintaining healthy boundaries, trusting one's instincts, and seeking support from trusted friends and family members, individuals can reduce their vulnerability to manipulation and coercion. Moreover, by educating others about the tactics used by psychopaths, we can empower individuals to recognize and respond to manipulation tactics in their own lives and relationships. Chapter 9. Dealing with Psychopaths in the Workplace. Navigating the presence of psychopaths in the workplace can present unique challenges, as their manipulative tactics and lack of empathy can disrupt team dynamics, undermine productivity, and create a toxic work environment. Whether it's a coworker, supervisor, or subordinate exhibiting psychopathic traits, understanding how to effectively deal with psychopaths in the workplace is essential for maintaining professional integrity and fostering a healthy organizational culture. One of the most important strategies for dealing with psychopaths in the workplace is to establish clear boundaries and assertively assert one's rights and expectations. Psychopaths may attempt to exploit and manipulate their coworkers for personal gain, whether it's by taking credit for others' work, undermining their colleagues' reputations, or engaging in unethical behavior to advance their own interests. By setting boundaries and refusing to tolerate manipulation or exploitation, individuals can protect themselves from psychopathic influence and maintain their professional integrity. It's essential for organizations to foster a culture of transparency, accountability, and ethical conduct to minimize the opportunities for psychopathic behavior to flourish. This may involve implementing clear policies and procedures for reporting unethical conduct, providing training and support for employees on recognizing and responding to psychopathic behavior, and promoting a zero-tolerance approach to workplace misconduct. In addition to setting boundaries and promoting ethical conduct, it's important for individuals to cultivate a strong support network of colleagues, mentors, and allies who can provide guidance and assistance in dealing with psychopathic individuals in the workplace. By sharing experiences and strategies for coping with psychopathic behavior, employees can gain valuable insights and validation, reducing their vulnerability to manipulation and exploitation. Organizations can take proactive steps to identify and address psychopathic behavior in the workplace through targeted interventions and support services. This may involve conducting assessments to identify individuals exhibiting psychopathic traits, providing counseling and support for employees who have been targeted by psychopathic colleagues, and implementing measures to prevent psychopathic behavior from escalating into more serious misconduct. While psychopathy is associated with a range of harmful behaviors, it's essential to conduct a comprehensive assessment by qualified professionals before making any judgments or taking action. Moreover, it's important to approach the situation with empathy and compassion, recognizing that psychopathic individuals may themselves be struggling with mental health issues or personal challenges. Chapter 10. Legal and Ethical Considerations with Psychopathy. The presence of psychopathy raises significant legal and ethical considerations across various domains, from criminal justice to healthcare to employment law. Balancing the rights and responsibilities of individuals with psychopathic traits while ensuring the safety and well-being of society poses complex challenges that require careful consideration and deliberation. In the realm of criminal justice, psychopathy has long been a subject of debate and controversy. While individuals with psychopathic traits may exhibit a heightened propensity for violence and antisocial behavior, not all psychopaths engage in criminal conduct. Moreover, the question of whether psychopathy should be considered a mitigating factor in legal proceedings, such as during sentencing or parole hearings, remains a topic of ongoing debate. Some argue that psychopathy should be taken into account when determining culpability and sentencing, as individuals with psychopathic traits may have diminished capacity for moral reasoning and impulse control. Others contend that psychopathy should not serve as an excuse for criminal behavior, and that individuals with psychopathic traits should be held accountable for their actions like any other offender. Ethical considerations arise in the treatment and rehabilitation of psychopathic individuals within the criminal justice system. While traditional approaches to rehabilitation, such as cognitive behavioral therapy and counseling, may be effective for some offenders, they may be less successful with individuals with psychopathic traits, who may lack the insight or motivation to change their behavior. Concerns have been raised about the potential for psychopathic individuals to manipulate or exploit treatment programs for personal gain, posing risks to themselves and others. Striking a balance between providing treatment and support for individuals with psychopathic traits while ensuring public safety remains a delicate and challenging task for policymakers and legal practitioners. In addition to criminal justice considerations, psychopathy also raises ethical questions in other domains, such as healthcare and employment law. In healthcare settings, for example, mental health professionals may grapple with issues such as confidentiality, informed consent, and duty to warn when treating individuals with psychopathic traits. Balancing the rights of the individual to privacy and autonomy with the duty to protect potential victims from harm requires careful ethical deliberation and adherence to professional standards of conduct. Similarly, in the workplace, employers and HR professionals may face ethical dilemmas when dealing with employees exhibiting psychopathic behavior. While termination or disciplinary action may be warranted in cases of misconduct or harm to others, employers must also consider the rights of the individual and ensure that their actions are fair, transparent, and in accordance with legal and ethical standards. Concerns about discrimination and stigmatization of individuals with psychopathic traits raise important ethical considerations in both legal and societal contexts. While it's essential to recognize and address the harmful behaviors associated with psychopathy, it's equally important to avoid stereotypes and prejudice that may unfairly target individuals with mental health conditions. Chapter 11. Prevention and Early Intervention Strategies. Prevention and early intervention are critical components in addressing psychopathy and reducing its impact on individuals and society. By identifying risk factors, promoting protective factors, and implementing targeted interventions, we can work proactively to prevent the development of psychopathic traits and mitigate their negative consequences. One key area of focus in prevention efforts is early childhood intervention. Research has shown that early experiences and environmental factors play a significant role in shaping the development of psychopathic traits. Adverse childhood experiences, such as abuse, neglect, and trauma, have been linked to an increased risk of psychopathy later in life. By providing supportive and nurturing environments for children from an early age, we can help mitigate the risk of developing psychopathic traits and promote healthy social and emotional development. Promoting positive parenting practices and family relationships is essential for preventing the transmission of psychopathic traits across generations. By educating parents and caregivers about the importance of warmth, empathy, and consistent discipline in child rearing, we can help foster secure attachments and healthy emotional development in children, reducing their vulnerability to psychopathic influences later in life. In addition to early childhood intervention, targeted interventions in adolescence and young adulthood can also be effective in preventing the development of psychopathic traits. This may include programs aimed at promoting social and emotional skills, such as empathy, impulse control, and conflict resolution, through school-based curricula, community programs, and mentorship initiatives. By providing adolescents and young adults with the tools and support they need to navigate social relationships and make positive choices, we can help reduce the risk of engaging in antisocial behavior and developing psychopathic traits. Addressing underlying risk factors associated with psychopathy, such as substance abuse, trauma, and mental health issues, is essential for preventing the escalation of psychopathic behavior and promoting positive outcomes for individuals at risk. This may involve providing access to mental health services, substance abuse treatment, and trauma-informed care to individuals who have experienced adversity or trauma, addressing the root causes of psychopathy and supporting healthy development. Creating supportive and inclusive communities that promote resilience and connectedness can help buffer individuals from the risk of developing psychopathic traits. By fostering a sense of belonging, social support, and positive peer relationships, communities can provide protective factors that promote healthy social and emotional development and reduce the likelihood of engaging in antisocial behavior. In addition to prevention efforts aimed at individuals, addressing broader social and structural factors that contribute to the prevalence of psychopathy is also essential. This may include addressing socioeconomic disparities, promoting equity and social justice, and challenging cultural norms and attitudes that perpetuate violence, exploitation, and inequality. By creating a more just, equitable, and compassionate society, we can reduce the risk of psychopathy and promote the well-being of all individuals. Chapter 12. Ethical Considerations in Research and Treatment. Ethical considerations play a crucial role in research and treatment related to psychopathy, ensuring that individuals with psychopathic traits are treated with dignity, respect, and fairness while minimizing harm and promoting the well-being of all involved. From obtaining informed consent to safeguarding confidentiality and privacy, ethical principles guide the conduct of research and clinical practice in this complex and sensitive area. One of the fundamental ethical principles in research involving individuals with psychopathic traits is the principle of informed consent. Given the potential vulnerabilities and risks associated with psychopathy, obtaining valid and voluntary consent from research participants is essential for ensuring that they understand the nature and purpose of the study, as well as any potential risks or benefits involved. Researchers must take steps to ensure that participants are fully informed about the research procedures, their rights, and the potential implications of their participation. Ensuring confidentiality and privacy is essential for protecting the rights and well-being of individuals with psychopathic traits in research and clinical practice. Given the stigma and discrimination often associated with psychopathy, maintaining the confidentiality of participants' personal information and research data is essential for preventing harm and promoting trust and cooperation. Researchers must take appropriate measures to safeguard the confidentiality and privacy of research participants, including using secure data storage and transmission methods and obtaining informed consent for data sharing and publication. Ensuring beneficence and non-maleficence is essential in research and treatment related to psychopathy, balancing the potential benefits of the research or intervention with the potential risks to participants and society. Researchers and clinicians must carefully consider the potential risks and benefits of their work and take steps to minimize harm and maximize the well-being of participants. This may involve implementing safeguards and monitoring procedures to ensure that participants are not exposed to undue harm or exploitation. Ensuring justice and fairness is essential in research and treatment related to psychopathy, ensuring that individuals with psychopathic traits are not unfairly excluded from participation or denied access to appropriate care and support. Researchers and clinicians must strive to ensure that their work is conducted in a manner that is fair and equitable, avoiding biases and stereotypes that may perpetuate discrimination and inequality. Ensuring cultural sensitivity and competence is essential in research and treatment related to psychopathy, recognizing the diversity of experiences, beliefs, and values among individuals with psychopathic traits and their communities. Researchers and clinicians must take steps to ensure that their work is culturally appropriate and respectful, taking into account the cultural context and preferences of participants and tailoring interventions accordingly. In addition to these ethical principles, researchers and clinicians must also adhere to relevant professional standards and guidelines governing the conduct of research and clinical practice. This may include obtaining approval from institutional review boards or ethics committees, adhering to professional codes of conduct and practice standards, and maintaining ongoing education and training in ethical principles and practices. Chapter 13. Strategies for Confronting a Psychopath. Recognizing the signs. Before delving into interaction strategies, it's essential to recognize the signs of psychopathic behavior. Psychopaths often exhibit charming and charismatic personalities, masking their true intentions beneath a veneer of charm. They may display a lack of remorse or guilt, engage in manipulative tactics, and demonstrate shallow emotional responses. By familiarizing yourself with these indicators, you can identify potential psychopathic individuals in your personal or professional circles. Establishing boundaries. One of the most critical aspects of interacting with psychopaths is establishing and maintaining boundaries. Psychopaths are adept at exploiting weaknesses and pushing limits, making it essential to set clear boundaries from the outset. Clearly communicate your expectations and limits, and be prepared to enforce consequences for any violations. By asserting your boundaries firmly and consistently, you can mitigate the risk of manipulation and maintain control over the interaction. Avoiding emotional engagement. Psychopaths thrive on emotional manipulation, using charm and manipulation to elicit emotional responses from their targets. To counteract this tactic, it's crucial to avoid becoming emotionally entangled in interactions with psychopaths. Maintain a calm and rational demeanor, refraining from emotional outbursts or displays of vulnerability. By remaining detached and composed, you can undermine the psychopath's attempts to manipulate your emotions and maintain control over the interaction. Utilizing strategic communication. Effective communication is key when interacting with psychopaths. Instead of engaging in emotional or confrontational exchanges, focus on conveying information clearly and assertively. Stick to facts and avoid divulging unnecessary personal details that could be used against you. Additionally, be vigilant for manipulative tactics such as gaslighting or deception, and respond with firmness and clarity. By maintaining control over the conversation and steering it towards productive topics, you can minimize the psychopath's ability to manipulate and exploit you. Leveraging social support. Dealing with psychopaths can be emotionally taxing and mentally draining. To counteract the stress of these interactions, it's essential to seek support from trusted friends, family members, or colleagues. Share your experiences and concerns with supportive individuals who can offer perspective and validation. Additionally, consider seeking professional counseling or therapy to process your emotions and develop coping strategies for dealing with psychopathic individuals. Protecting your interests. When interacting with psychopaths, it's crucial to prioritize your own interests and well-being. Avoid compromising your values or integrity to appease a psychopathic individual, and be wary of any requests or demands that seem manipulative or exploitative. Trust your instincts and prioritize self-preservation above all else. By maintaining a steadfast commitment to your own integrity and values, you can safeguard yourself against manipulation and ensure that your interests are protected. One of the best strategies for dealing with a psychopath is to simply avoid them altogether. By recognizing the signs of a psychopath and choosing to stay away from individuals who exhibit these traits, you can protect yourself from potential harm and manipulation. By avoiding contact with a psychopath, you can prevent yourself from falling victim to their manipulative tactics and protect your emotional well-being. It is also important to trust your instincts when dealing with a psychopath. If something feels off or if you feel uncomfortable around someone, It is important to listen to these feelings and take steps to protect yourself. By trusting your instincts and choosing to stay away from individuals who make you feel uneasy, you can prevent yourself from becoming a victim of manipulation and harm. In some cases, it may be necessary to cut ties with a psychopath completely in order to protect yourself from further harm. If you find yourself in a situation where you are constantly being manipulated or harmed by a psychopath, it may be necessary to remove yourself from the situation entirely. By cutting ties with a psychopath and choosing to no longer have contact with them, you can protect yourself from potential harm and manipulation. It is important to remember that dealing with a psychopath can be a challenging and difficult task. By recognizing the signs of a psychopath and choosing to avoid individuals who exhibit these traits, you can protect yourself from potential harm and manipulation. Trusting your instincts, setting boundaries, and choosing to cut ties with a psychopath if necessary are all important steps in protecting yourself from falling victim to their manipulative tactics. By choosing to stay away from psychopaths and not engaging with them, you can protect yourself and your emotional well-being from potential harm.